Hello there, my name is Cole Failing. If you haven't heard of me, it's probably because I'm currently spending a year dead for tax reasons. Today I'm incredibly excited to finally show you guys a project I've been working on for several months, Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber from A New Hope with an extending blade. This is my first step into the world of Star Wars prop making, so it was really important to me that the first lightsaber I made was the Obi-Wan lightsaber from A New Hope. In my eyes, this lightsaber design is in a league of its own, and I always promised myself that if I ever got around to making a lightsaber one day, it would have to be this one. I would wind up eating those words almost immediately, however, because Obi-Wan's lightsaber has an important design feature that makes it notoriously difficult to wire up and attach blades to. I am, of course, talking about the thin neck. But I'll get to that in a moment. First, let me talk about how I put together the exterior of the hilt. As many people know, the Obi-Wan lightsaber used in A New Hope was constructed entirely from found parts. The pommel, for example, was originally a sync knob from a company called Armitage Shanks. It is possible to find some of these knobs online, but I wanted my replica to be all metal, so I ended up using a die casting of an original Armitage Shanks knob. Once I had the cast of the part, I chromed the entire piece to give it the same finish as the shiny plastic of the real knobs. The next piece of the lightsaber was a Browning booster from a World War II machine gun. Again, under rare circumstances you can find an original one, but I had already decided what I was going to use for this piece years ago. Back in high school I was using a crimping wheel, which is a machine for adding corrugation to sheet metal. I realized that one of the wheels on this machine looked remarkably like the Browning booster from this lightsaber. I took some measurements, and sure enough, it is the same width and diameter of the real part, just being used on a completely different machine. I asked my shop teacher at the time if he had any spare parts from the machine that I could use for this project, and he did not, so he just pulled one of the wheels right off the machine and gave it to me. I've done more research since then, and the model of crimping wheel that this came from isn't made anymore, and I can't find any trace of this part online, so I'm really happy to have gotten a hold of this unique vintage part for my lightsaber, even if it's not exactly the right one. Moving up the lightsaber, the next piece is a Graflex clamp from a Graflex 3-cell camera flash tube, which of course is far more famous for being the base of the Anakin Skywalker lightsaber. Slotted into the clamp was a bubble strip from an Exactra calculator. I was lucky enough to get a hold of one of these clamps to use on my lightsaber, as well as an Exactra bubble strip. The most distinctive part of this lightsaber, which runs all the way from the clamp all the way up to the emitter, was originally a rifle rod grenade from World War II. As much as I would have loved disarming a live grenade to use on a Star Wars prop, I just ended up machining a replica from stainless steel to the exact dimensions of the real part. The brass neck on this grenade was the only part on the whole lightsaber that I did not have the tools to make myself, so I outsourced that part to Roman's Props, who also do incredible replicas of all the parts that I just mentioned. Finally, the emitter of the lightsaber was originally a balance pipe from a Rolls-Royce Derwent jet engine. I had a couple of those in the shed, but it was raining and I didn't really feel like going out there, so I just machined a replica of the part from stainless steel. This is again made to all the screen-accurate dimensions, but with one exception. The lower step of the emitter is slightly longer than it is on the screen-accurate piece, and I'll explain why I made it that way in a moment. Okay, now for the part I'm sure you're all most curious to hear about, the extending blade. Now, in order to give some context to how I made this, I have to first talk about Disney's recently unveiled real lightsaber, which also features an extending blade. A little while ago, Disney filed for a patent on a new lightsaber mechanism, which contains 2 rolls of clear plastic. This plastic has a unique property, which is that it naturally curves into a concave shape when it's extended, but then it flattens back out again when it's coiled up. This is the exact same way that tape measures work. The metal strip is naturally concave, allowing it to stay rigid even when it's extended up to 7 feet. But when you coil it back up, it stays rolled up like a roll of tape. Disney's lightsaber patent includes 2 rolls of this transparent plastic stacked on top of one another. If each strip curves into a half cylinder when extended, then putting the 2 halves together forms a full transparent cylinder that extends out of these 2 coils of plastic stacked on top of one another. Now I know what you're wondering, and no, I did not make my blade this way. I could have. It would have been so easy, if not for one outrageous, glaring obstacle standing in my way. The thin neck. One enormous drawback to Disney's new design is that it doesn't work with thin neck lightsabers like Luke and Obi-Wan's. In order to make a thin neck lightsaber with an extending blade, one of two things has to happen. Either A, the entire blade has to be thin enough to fit through the neck and pass through with almost zero tolerance, or B, the entire blade mechanism has to fit just in the emitter and not even go down into the neck. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I thought I had a slam dunk with the first option. I spent a long time messing around with extendable umbrella mechanisms, because I figured they would be thin enough to pass through the neck, and they were, but I had other problems. First of all, I could not for the life of me find an extendable umbrella that extended more than like 2 feet, so I could not get a very impressive blade length going. Second of all, I couldn't find a single brand of umbrella where the handle was clear plastic. Searching clear plastic umbrella into Google only gives you results where the sheet of the umbrella is clear plastic. Come on, Google. Can't you see that I want the entire umbrella to be clear plastic? Anyway, that idea didn't work out, but that's okay, because I was about to have a far, far better idea. I went back to the Disney patent and decided to look more into the transparent convex plastic. I found a video from a channel named Joel Creates, where he created an extending blade using an item from a magic trick set, a tiny metal coil that springs out into a full-length staff. Go check out his channel to see more about how he engineered his mechanism, which I thought was really clever. But I realized if I could get something similar to those extending staffs made from the transparent convex plastic from the Disney lightsaber patent, then I could create a lightsaber mechanism that, when fully coiled up, would fit entirely in the emitter of the lightsaber without cutting into the thin neck at all. And that is why I machined my emitter's lower step to be slightly longer than usual. I wanted to store the entire coiled blade inside of it without it poking out the top. I got a hold of the coiled up transparent plastic blade mechanism that I needed and kept it in place with fishing line that runs through the neck and attaches to a clamp in the grip of the lightsaber. Pressing a button on the Graflex clamp releases the fishing line and the blade telescopes out the emitter. Now I know what you're wondering. How did I make the blade light up if all the space in the emitter is taken up by the coiled up blade? First of all, you are on fire tonight with these questions, I love it. Second of all, I have tried everything. I tried LEDs, I tried NeoPixel, I tried an LED strip that unspools as the blade pulls out. Nothing that I tried was bright enough to light the entire blade. Well, except the LED strip, but that had its own issues. The coiled up blade didn't spring out with enough force to pull the LEDs off their spool, so that's another thing I'd like to try in the future, if I can get a greasier spool, but I digress. No, there was only one option that lit up the entire blade with any degree of success. Lasers. Okay, yes, I designed a chassis for a 5,000 megawatt laser to put in my lightsaber. Is it safe to look at? No. Was it a bad idea? I don't know. I'll let you know if I suffer any consequences whatsoever. The point is, lasers ended up being the saving grace in this lightsaber project. I just, can't leave them on too long or they'll burn a hole in the tip of my blade. Well, there you have it, folks. An extending blade Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber. An elegant weapon for a more civilized age. But this project is not done. Far from it. I've got so many more ideas for extending blades that can cut stuff, extending blades that you can duel with, and lots more lightsaber designs that I want to make. My journey to becoming a Jedi is only just beginning. So keep your eyes glued to my channel and don't look away even for a second. See you in hell.